What's up, guys, and welcome live to the FPL show for Gameweek 4. This is Football Feast Extra, and this is Andrew. I'm going to be running you through what happened in FPL over the last game week. There were some massive point totals and some really, really bad ones, including mine. So we'll get into all of that. Before we get into it all, if you're not subscribed to us yet, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. All of our links are in our Twitch bio, our YouTube bio. Just follow us on everything, and you'll get every update and a lot of content coming your way. 3 shows a week. We've got the full length podcast, which aired on Monday night. We've got the FPL show that I do on a Wednesday, and then coming up in a few weeks' time on a Thursday, there'll be another show by Billy and Tommy. That's a lot to look forward to, and I'm sure they will share with you more details close to the time that it airs. So definitely hit that subscribe button. Right, let's start by, as we normally do, let's start looking at the top 5 teams in the FPL Football Feast Extra Fantasy League. I'm going to share with you my screen and we will get into it. So you'll see familiar names at the top of the leaderboard again. I think all 5 of these teams have been reviewed in the past, but they've managed to stay in the top 5. So after 4 weeks, very, very well done to these top 5 teams. Let's go through them. We've got Boys in Dahoud with Courtney Robinson, top of the league this week after a phenomenal 86 points. Really, really good week. It's me, Mario, 73 points this week, in a total of 271, 20 points off the top. So there's a little bit of distance now between the first place and the rest. Top Tropicanos, Romy Baker, 267 points. I prefer a flam with Mike Oates, 263 points, 66 for the week. And in 5th place, Blake Cowley's, Blake Cowley's changed name team, that obviously something that wasn't suitable. 71 points for him, 253 in total. So we're going to go through the top 5 teams and have a look at what players they had. And this is a great one to start with. One of the top scorers of the week, 86 points. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's have a look at the team. Interestingly, I'm going to do this back to front. I'm going to look up front first. We've got Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland. Somebody that's taken a gamble on Alvarez. Wasn't in Courtney's team initially. This must have been the transfer in. 14 points, had a really good game week. That massive win against Fulham, that 5-1 win. 14 points and then 40 for Erling Haaland, who was captained. And got a hat trick, so 40 points for Haaland. You would find that a lot of people probably captained Erling Haaland this week, apart from me, and a lot of people are going to be scoring high this week. Let's look at the midfield then. We've got Diaby, who 2 points, standard game week for him. Buemo got that late goal for Brentford against Bournemouth, giving him 8 points. I bet that was celebrated by FPL users around the world when that went in. Bukayo Saka with 4 points. You see here, Bukayo Saka did get an assist and a yellow card. Some people saying it should have been a red card, but luckily it was not for people that own Saka. Bruno Fernandes on 2 points, didn't really do much in the game. And Mohamed Salah, 8 points there, a goal scored and a clean sheet. Pretty solid pick at the minute, Mo Salah. He's been going very steadily along. We'll look at the defence now. Gusto has been put into the team. I'm not sure if Gusto was there already, but a lot of people did pick Gusto up after a really good points haul in game weeks 2 and 3. Only 2 points. Chelsea, that humiliating, to say the least, defeat against Nottingham Forest. A lot of people that own Chelsea defenders were caught out really there, including me, who owned the Nicholas Jackson, the Chelsea striker, and actually captained him and got 2 points. So we'll get on to me a bit later on. We'll continue reviewing this team. Ederson in goal, 3 points. Ederson's an interesting pick. If you listen to the Full Length podcast, Barron brought up a good point. He's a very expensive pick, and Manchester City don't seem to keep that many clean sheets. So maybe it's worth looking at taking Ederson out. It could be worth looking ahead at Man City's fixtures. But they conceded goals against Sheffield United and a goal at home to Fulham. So it could be worth looking at. And then to the bench, we've got Matt Turner, who got 5 points. Would have been the better option in goal. That, of course, that clean sheet against Chelsea. A lot of people probably benched Turner this week. Saliba with 2 points after conceding. Aaron's with 0 points, did play, but conceded 2 goals and got a yellow card, so no points for him. McCarthy injured, 0 points. So well done, Courtney. You are top of the league this week. Let's head on to second place with Callum Robb, a familiar team again. 73 points, a very respectable total. Let's see who he had. And again, we're going to start up front. Erling Haaland, 40 points as the captain. Really, really good point haul. But as the lone striker, so no other striker in the team. So yeah, 40 points. Good score. Phil Foden, 5 points. Played 89 minutes, got an assist. Looking like a strong pick. I know he's a rotation risk still, but seems to be starting more often than not. Apparently, when he was benched the other week, it was due to a virus. He was actually unwell. So it looks like Foden is going to get his chance to start more games in the league this season. So it could be a good pick. Bukayo Saka and Bruno Fernandes we have ran through. Raheem Sterling, who was the top points getter in game week 3 with 19, only picking up 2 points in that disappointing result against Nottingham Forest. This has probably caught a few people out this week, and we've already spoken about Mo Salah, 8 points. Udogi in defence, I can never pronounce his name right. 5 points. He's looking like a good pick as well. Even when Tottenham concede, he got an assist, I think, here. Yep, an assist and a bonus point for the second week in a row. He's got bonus points. In terms of defenders, he's not a bad option. He's not too expensive either. Definitely worth a look at putting him in your teams. Ben Chilwell as well, 1 point. Again, a victim of that Chelsea performance. Gusto as well, 2 points. So that's 3 Chelsea players. Getting a combined total of 5 points. So really not paid off the Chelsea assets, unfortunately, this week. And I know I said last week to put the Chelsea assets in because their fixtures were kind, but maybe I overestimated how good Chelsea are. Couldn't get it done against Nottingham Forest. Estepinian, 2 points, really unlucky. I have Estepinian in my team as well. Newcastle with Callum Wilson scoring in the 92nd minute to rob that clean sheet, really. There was also some great work by him to set up the Brighton goal where he intercepted Nick Pope's pass out, but unfortunately he laid it off to Matoma, who then crossed it and it came back and was a ricochet. So it was a bit of great work. No extra points this week for Estepinian. And then in goal, we've got Flecken, the Brentford goalkeeper. Conceded 2 goals. Did make 3 saves, though, so ended up on 2 points. So it's a solid week for Callum. Let's go on to third place. We've got Romy Baker, Club Tropicana, 83 points. Another really, really good score. And another person with Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez. Alvarez is starting to pop up in a lot of these teams now. People have identified him as a good pick, and I'll go in with it. So Haaland as the captain, of course, 40 points for him. Alvarez and João Pedro, who did actually get start, didn't really. I mean, he was unlucky not to have scored and got an assist. Really, he did play well, but 2 points for Pedro. Wemo, 8 points we've already discussed. That late goal. Bukayo Saka with 4 with that assist. Solly March, a lot of people transferred him in after some really good performances. He got a clean sheet point, but didn't contribute to any of Brighton's goals. So no additional points for Solly March. Gabriel Martinelli got an assist with 3 points, 2 points as well for minutes played. 5 points in total for Martinelli. It's a fair score. We've not really seen the points pay off yet on Martinelli. Some people may be considering dropping him. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. But at the moment, still in a lot of teams, Gabriel Martinelli. We head to the defence, and as seems to be the theme this week, a disappointing scores in defence. It's Estepinian, who's owned by most people, 2 points. As we've discussed, Ben Chilwell. Chelsea, of course, with that bad performance, 1 point. And then Rico Henry for Brentford conceded 2 goals, 1 point as well for him. And then Edison in goal, 3 points, which is okay. But 83 points, really Haaland and Alvarez making up the team. I prefer a flan. Mike Oakes, 66 points for Mike. The lowest that we've reviewed so far. But still a reasonably good score. Still keeps him within that top 5 where he's been the entirety of the season so far. Let's look at the team then. Antonio up front, I think, is actually a really, really good pick. He is where West Ham's goals are going to come from. The only problem I think with it is that they've got some difficult fixtures coming up. I'm not sure how they're going to fight fair, but if they are going to score, it will be Antonio. So it's the first time we've seen him in a team. It's an interesting pick. Isaac with 2 points. Been disappointing since that first week where he got a couple of goals. He's not really been picking up the points since. Might be worth thinking about taking him out of your team, or the Newcastle have had a difficult run of fixtures. Erling Haaland again, captain. That's a common theme. 40 points for that hat trick. Bruno Fernandes, we spoke about 2 points. Bukayo Saka, we spoke about as well with that assist, 4 points. Luis Diaz, 3 points. Didn't contribute to any of the goals this week. A clean sheet for him and 2 points for the minutes played. So 3 for Diaz in total. James Maddison is one that we've not seen yet. In the team, as the Tottenham midfielder did score a goal. Tottenham scored 5, so actually you can probably feel begrudged he didn't get more points. But he is looking like a really strong pick for James Maddison owners or people that are thinking of transferring him in. It might be a good idea. I mean, they've got Arsenal after they've got a game and then they've got Arsenal. So maybe after that game, it might be worth looking at transferring him in. But we will look at fixtures in a moment. Okay, and then we will head into the defence. A very familiar looking defence. Rico Henry, Estepinian, and Ben Chilwell. Defence we've seen before. A total of 4 points combined. So just a poor week for defenders. And then we've got Areola in goal. 2 points. Obviously West Ham conceding to Luton. Okay, and let's head to our final team that we're going to review. Is Blake Howley with an unknown changed name team name. 71 points, pretty decent return. Let's see how it happened. We've got Erling Haaland up front with 40 points, your standard. The first person with Jackson that we've seen, 1 point for Jackson. A really, really poor game. Missed that really, really big chance at the end of the game. Alexander Isaac, 2 points. Again, as I've mentioned, not really firing at the moment. Bukayo Saka, 4 points with that assist. James Maddison, we just spoke about, a goal in Tottenham's 5-2 win, 7 points. First person with Martin Odegaard, obviously scored that goal for Arsenal, 7 points for him. So the midfield here is actually what's making up the points. Bruno Fernandes as well with 2. Kieran Trippier with 1 point. Estepinian with 2. And Udogie as well, 5 points for him in that defence, which is a nice little boost to help him up the table. Bernd Leno not picking up any points, obviously battered by Manchester City. Brave choice, really, keeping with him in goal this week. So that is the top 5 teams of the league. Before we move on to look at players and transfers, we are going to look at how the hosts have done this week. Okay, so let's scroll down the list. Let's find, here we are. Barron and Billy, nice together there in the table. 11th and 12th, a really good rise for them. Let's have a look at Barron's team and see what he's done. So we've got Erling Haaland up front, 40 points and captain, as we've seen with everyone. Darwin Núñez, he's stuck with him. 8 points for Darwin Núñez, 2 assists. Really, really good points return over the last 2 games, Darwin Núñez. Alexander Isaac obviously not really performing or not getting the points in FPL. Bukayo Saka on 4. Marcus Rashford, he kept with him for that game against Arsenal, despite being an Arsenal fan, because Marcus Rashford always scores against Arsenal. 7 points for Rashford, 8 points for Salah, and then we've got 2 for Gusto, 1 for Pau Torres, 2 for Saliba, 1 for Pinnock, and 3 for Ederson. So a common theme of the points being gained up front and in midfield, and the defence not really gaining any points this week. Let's take a look at Billy, who had a phenomenal week, 86 points. And you can see here, mainly gained by Julian Alvarez and Erling Haaland, another person with that combination. But some other big hitters in the team to boost the points up. You've got Ollie Watkins with 2, Phil Foden getting 5 points, Marcus Rashford 7 points, James Ward-Prowse, the first time we've seen him in a team, 7 points for Ward-Prowse with that assist and 2 bonus points. Raheem Sterling with 2 points was definitely worth the risk. He could have paid off big, but didn't this week, unfortunately. Colwell with 2 points, Udogie with 5, Kabori with 1, and Pickford with 1. Odegaard on the bench. Billy thought that Man United were going to win that game. But Odegaard said that he benched Odegaard and Ben White. Odegaard obviously scoring that goal. So it could have been an even higher scoring week for Billy, who's risen up the league. And finally, we'll look at my team. I have nosedived down to 23rd place after only picking up 56 points, because I was probably the only person in this league and maybe in the whole of FPL that decided he wasn't going to captain Erling Haaland and he was going to captain Nicholas Jackson. As you can see, I kept Haaland in 20 points, which mitigates some of the damage. But look, it's been a terrible week for me. 2 points for Jackson instead of the extra 20 I could have got for captaining Haaland. Martinelli with 5, Maddison with 7, Mitoma with 5, Rashford with 7, Saka with 4. Midfield had a fairly decent week. Estepinian with 2, Pau Torres with 1, Decisive with 2, Johnson with 1. So defence, poor, midfield, pretty good, and I've got a howler up front, which places ahead of the international break. So there we go. They are the host teams. That is where we're at the moment. Let's have the player points totals. Let's see who is performing and who isn't performing. So here we are, this screen. You can see this is round. So this is for game week 4. This is how many points the top earners got. As you expect, Erling Haaland is top, joint with Heung-min Son. Both got hat-tricks in their big wins at the weekend. Look at that, Erling Haaland selected by 91.9% of people at this point. I mean, my personal opinion on it is that Haaland is sort of ruining FPL. It's not his fault, obviously, but I do feel like next season more needs to be done about ownership percentage, because it does take a lot of the mystery out of people's teams, unfortunately. But really, Heung-min Son, 28 point. Sorry, Heung-min Son, yes, 28 points. 9. I'm not sure why it says that. Oh, sorry, that's total points. I completely misread that. Right, 20 points. This is the part we want. This last one here. Evan Ferguson with 17 points. Also a hat trick for him. Not sure if one of those goals was taken away. Let's have a look here. Is it going to tell us? Goals. He got all 3 goals. So a few less. I think he may have been booked, which may have taken that points total down. 17 points, but really good performance from him. Looks like he's got a bit of a knock. 75% chance of play. We've got internationals, so just keep an eye on that if you're looking at transferring him in. Julian Alvarez, 14 points, another good performance this week. The people that had Alvarez and Haaland in their team. Edouard as well for Crystal Palace, 2 goals for him. Really good performance. Alexander for Liverpool now. Liverpool starting to look good again. 75% chance of playing the next game. Might be worth keeping an eye on. Archer, who looked at Sheffield United, getting 2 goals. Everton. He got 1 goal, and then the second shot, the ball bounced off the post and hit Pickford. But yeah, it looks really impressive. It's whether he will get the service against teams. So if you have to have a Sheffield United player, or you've got room former, it might be worth having a look at him. He's definitely the best. Billy Gilmore, who picked up, I think he picked up assist against Newcastle. He's a little bit of a rotation risk for me, Billy Gilmore. So if you had him, phenomenal. He's owned by 0.2%. I think many people would have benefited from having on your team. Kurt Zuma is next on points. He must have scored. Did he score? Yeah, scored a goal against Luton in that 2-1 win. is coming up with 17 points here. Declan Rice obviously scored a goal for Arsenal. Yeah, and got 3 bonus points. So for Declan Rice, Sabasli for Liverpool, who scored that goal, the opening goal in that game against Aston Villa. Neto for Wolves, Jensen for Brentford, and then Nottingham Forest. Surprised there's not more Nottingham Forest defenders higher up on this list. But they are your top performing players this round. And before we finish up, let's look at the total points this entire season so far. So over the 4 weeks, who has got the most points? And let's see, we've got Erling Haaland top of the tree, as you 9 points in total. I was missing for a few weeks, but back after a hat-trick against Fulham. Look, a lot of people predicted he was going to have a good season without Tony. The penalty taker, that he was going to play more games. Of course, Brent pay. I'm not sure if that's going to limit him to most game time. I don't think it will. But yeah, 6.8 million. If you picked him up, really, really good so far. Jarrell Bowen starting to hit some real form. 30 points. He was displaced Solly March, who was first. He's now down to 4th, 29 points. James Maddison, who's also played extremely well. I would say the surprise of the season so far is to applaud the people that have had him since game week 1. Wasn't sure if he was going to be starting. And is he starting? He's performing. He's got 28 points so far this season with hat-trick hero Heung-min Son. So a really good Alvarez. We then go down to Rodri, who they don't buy Rodri. He's had 1 good game or 2 good games. Very good player, Rodri. He's just not suited for FPL. That holding midfield, the players like Casemiro and Rodri, they're just not suited for FPL. But he's popping up with goals and assists, which is unusual. I still think it would be a mistake to draft him into your team. He's owned by 12.6% of players. So, what you will, we will look at the fixtures in a moment and we'll see what his run of games are like. We then look at Romero. Season Tottenham have had a good start to the season, and then we'll end off with Saka 25 points, Ferguson 25 points, and then Rash also on 25 points. So these are your players to watch thinking about transfers after the international break. So let's have a look at some fixtures. As I said, we've got internationals this week, so I would have transfers until after the international teams have played, just in case there's any injury. It's going to, cost you any points if you have to take players out and so on. But these are the fixtures for the weekend of the September. Wolves hosting Liverpool. Maybe a good time to put in some Liverpool players. I mean, I know they're away, but pretty toothless so far. Aston Villa versus Palace. For both teams, maybe consider benching both sets of because that's a tough one to call. Fulham don't really have a prolific goal scorer now that Mitrovic. Worth looking at your Fulham options though, because Luton have been leaking goals since the start of the season. Is there anybody sitting on your bench that you could put in just for 1 game week that you think it? Man United versus Brighton. Again, this is a tough game for both. I would probably, I said last week about selling Brighton of Ansu Fati. I would probably steer clear on this week. It was a big call, but if you can afford to bench him this week, I would maybe look at doing that. Spurs versus Sheffield. Go out on Spurs. Get as many Spurs players in as you can, and that is something you say. Get your James Maddisons in. Get your because Sheffield United are another team that look like they're going down at this early stage. Tottenham are running riot, so get your Spurs players in if you can. West Ham versus Manchester City. I said that when I was reviewing difficult fixtures, and they don't get more difficult than Manchester City to town. This is a difficult one. I don't think many people have West Ham defenders. I've not seen any Kurt Zumas, especially in our league, but maybe consider benching them. I would also maybe look at Pittsburgh, even though I would pip Man City to win this quite comfortably. Might score a goal at home. City have looked leaky. Newcastle United versus Brentford. Newcastle really need a response. Brentford team. It's a tough one though for players like Mbuemo, who have been on good scoring runs. A tough defence normally to break, especially at home. Could be enough to bench this week, really. We move on to Sunday versus Chelsea is the 2 o'clock. Now, this backfired on me last week. Chelsea players, and they went and blew it 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. I'm going to say the same. Chelsea should do well against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth have actually season. The one thing I will advise is do not captain Jackson now, but don't make the same mistake that I did. To West Ham, I would think about captaining early Haaland because of so that's always a good shout. Monday night Forest versus Burnley. You know what? Nottingham Forest have actually looked like a pretty good team. A team like Anthony Elanga, Wakenfemi, the striker that Nottingham Forest have that's on good form, or something like that. Definitely consider putting really good scoring record. And Burnley have been leaky. They've not been good. I thought they were, and Vincent Kompany was going to have them tearing it up, but it's not happening. Forest have looked good, so maybe that's one to think about. That is everything for this week. Of the top 5 teams, the fixtures looked at and predicted. Is it too early to use a wild card? Is it too early to use? Would that be considered panicking? I mean, it depends where you are in the league. It is something that I'm considering because I am quite far behind now. And let us know what you're going to do. Put stuff in. Give me your opinion. Give us your thoughts, and we will see you. For the podcast will be Monday night at 8 p.m. Will not be happening next week because obviously there's no league football, no FPL movements, so there'll be no FPL show. An hour and a bit podcast episode discussing international, maybe a few games, bit of fun. Come along and join us live 8